Well, dealing with the speculation of my reveal was interesting because in this day and age you have to keep quiet about certain things because you're part of the team and you want them to be able to deliver the result in the way they want to. And I think it's pretty exciting personally, the way that they do things because it builds up the audience and the fans, and then the release is even more extra special. I think that's pretty cool. I also like the world that it creates. It creates this kind of what if this and what if that world. I love that about comics because that's always existed from like when they were just drawn on paper. Um, but I feel so good now that it's revealed, and I feel so good about the product that this Hawkeye show that they put out there, and the performances of everybody in it. And I think it's just so wonderful. Yeah, the way that Kingpin fits into, or Wilson Fisk fits into the Hawkeye storyline is, as far as when it comes to just story, it's after the blip, and it's been years since the time in that you met him in Daredevil, and he's, because of the blip, he's lost a lot of his power. Businesses have gone down, people disappeared. Like it was just like everybody knows, it kind of upturned everybody's lives in the MCU. So that happened, and he lost some of his power. So in the story of Hawkeye, you know, Fisk wants his city back, and so he feels like he's lost it a bit, and he wants to get it back, and that's his main goal. And then from a performance standpoint, how he hasn't changed, I don't think at all, except for in the series, he has more powerful. He's more powerful. He has more strength, and he can take more physical abuse. But also, it's still the same character that I worked on and established in Daredevil. He is based in this kind of emotional life that has a lot to do with his childhood. So everything that he says, everything he does, is fueled by those events when he was a child. To return to the role, my preparation was really just getting back to those original events, that whether they be joyful or heavier than that, or what happened in my life, and so as an actor, I try to see things through the lenses of those events in my life, and to help tell the story of Fisk, or the story at hand, in Hawkeye, for instance, that I have to mix and match events in my life that can emotionally be equivalent to what's needed to help tell the story in Hawkeye. And so basically that's what I do. So that's what I did in Daredevil, and it was basically a reconnection of those things to bring it back for Hawkeye. Well, the fight scene between Kate Bishop and Kingpin was very, it was a very technically savvy execution of it. It was we did it piece by piece. There was wires, there was stunt women and men stepping in for us and then stepping out for us, and then so us participating in some of it, the stunt people doing the super dangerous stuff. So it was piece by piece by piece, but it's amazing the job that these people do, because it's really constructed before you even get there. And you have a little bit of a contribution to it on the day when you're actually shooting about it, but all of the main bits of the fight are done by the stunt team and shot on video, not in costume really or anything, but in a very kind of particular way. And so we just have to go in and repeat that in the most safest way possible, with the stunt guys and stunt women stepping in for the dangerous bits. And so it's quite fun, actually. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of technical stuff, but you can still squeeze acting in there and get the vibe between Haley and I think was still there in the scene. So it's amazing. Haley was very impressive when it came to that, because I'm sure this is stuff I'm sure she hasn't been acting for that long, and so she was very savvy, and I was very impressed by her. It was really fun, and so it's hard work but fun. Well, because in my case, I always approach a villain as if they're not a villain, that they're just misunderstood, and that they're actually kind of okay, and have the same problems everybody else has. And it's everybody else's opinion that makes them a villain, not their own. So that's the way I approach things, and that makes it more interesting from the get-go, because depending on what the villain's supposed to look like, or what kind of villain, quote unquote, they're supposed to be in the story, what kind of story it is, it helps, all that influences the outcome of my characters. But the main thing is I approach them as just being a man first, and then everything else is based on that emotional life of the man. I think Kingpin resonates with the fans because he does have this kind of big, kind of boisterous feeling about him from the comics of years ago. And I think that, but yet he's still grounded by an emotional life. And I think that keeps him as a complicated character. He has this emotional life, yet he's big and he's strong. And I think the combination of those two things make him a fascinating character. I had comic books when I was a young boy. Yeah, I had comic books, but I wasn't like some of my friends who had hundreds of them and collected them and stuff like that. I didn't do that, but I had a couple of Marvel heroes and other heroes too from other companies, and they were my guys. Like the Marvel guys were Spider-Man, Captain America, Punisher, and Daredevil. Those were my guys. And in Punisher, Daredevil, and Spider-Man, Fisk was in all of those, so I knew of Fisk. And then, so I always liked Spider-Man and Captain America were my lighter, kind of not so dark superheroes, although their stories were quite intense. And then the rest were, even on the DC side, I went for all the darker guys. So it was so but I wasn't a collector. Well, I think it's the same way that everybody has a different taste in what they want as their entertainment, or what they read, or what they watch. And I think that I think similar to crime novels and or regular science fiction or fantasy stuff, I think the comics and I think these movies have a lot to do with people, seeking adventure in their life, and these movies are adventures. And it's exciting to live through a character that is beyond yourself. And I think that's always the main attraction. I think early on, with Pulp Fiction writers back in the day, when they would write like crime noir kind of novels and stuff like that, and old Western novels and stuff, people were able to live vicariously through these darker, more scary, and more exciting lives. And I think it's the same thing that's happening today with all of Marvel's films in the MCU.